Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story, which comes from Throwaway Bub and says, am I the a-hole for not sharing my stepdad's inheritance with my brother? My 25 female dad passed when I was very young. My mum married my stepdad Lee when I was 5. Lee is wealthy and my mum never had to work, and I was given everything growing up. The only thing we never received was acceptance from Lee's family. They were not pleased that Lee chose to marry a widow with a child. Lee and I were close and he continued to care for me even after my brother Sam, 18, was born. My mum clearly favoured Sam and didn't really focus much on me. Lee's relatives warmed up to my mum a little with the birth of Sam, but I was still treated like something invisible. Sam was often invited to Lee's relatives' houses to play, and he and I are not very close. I decided to go to university overseas, and Lee gave me enough money that I didn't have to work or worry financially. He was the only one calling and writing me regularly. I talked to my mum and Sam like once every couple of months during my university days. After graduation, Lee wanted me to come home, but I wanted to work and be on my own for a bit. The pandemic happened and I was unable to fly back. When the lockdown was over, my family came to visit me once and left when I preferred to continue working where I am. Lee came to visit a few more times by himself. A few months ago, Lee passed from a disease he never let anyone know he had. In his will, he left his business and house and most valuables to his relatives. My mum almost nothing, so she can keep what he has already given to her: 2 cars, jewelry and cash, and up to 60k. My mum never legally married him. Sam up to 150k, and the rest of the money to me. It was 7-figure USD, a life-changing amount. Turns out Sam is not Lee's biological child, which he found out only recently. My mum and Sam were mad, of course, and demanded that I share the money with them. I said I'm willing to put the money in some low-risk investments and we can split the gain. Not good enough. They want at least 25% each of what Lee left me. I argued that it's not like they are left destitute. Sam can still go to a good university if he cares enough for further education, and my mum have enough money to get her own place and the investments will give us long-term incomes. They called me greedy and planned to take legal action, but Lee's relatives told them that they could make my mum and Sam's lives very difficult if they tried to give me a hard time and go against Lee's wishes. I intend to do as I promised them, splitting the gains from the investments with my mum and Sam. I won't let them touch the money Lee left me though, because I don't trust them to not go through that money in just a few years. Am I the a-hole? Now this one feels pretty simple for me in that he left that money to you for a reason, so I think you need to honor his wishes and keep that money and do as you wish with it. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of legal advice about how to protect that money in the comments below. It sounds like Lee was someone who was very special in your life and someone that cared for you greatly when others wasn't. So I personally think honoring his wishes, looking after that money and living a good life is a way that you can show your love towards Lee. I also can't help but wonder when Sam found out that his dad is not actually his dad and how he's feeling about it as well. Grey Wisteria says info. By 7 figures, you mean you're a millionaire now? The difference between that and 150k is pretty staggering. Why did Lee choose to punish Sam by leaving him only a fraction of what he left you? Lee cared for you a lot despite you not being his biological child, so it's odd to think he might be blaming Sam for Sam's parentage. So that's the only clue you leave us as to what drama occurred there. Did Sam and Lee not get along? As for your mother, yikes, she was not good to you. You're being too generous with her. OP says, yes, I'm fully considered a millionaire with my inheritance. As for Sam, he has always been spoiled and difficult. My mum never said no to him and he got everything he wanted. Lee was the stricter parent, but Sam would always hide behind someone, like Lee's relatives, when he got in trouble. He had to repeat a grade because he refused to put in any work and would say his academic record would not give him good university choices. He had already wrecked 2 cars from reckless driving. He was also caught shoplifting once when he was 16 because his friends dared him to. I completely understand Lee not wanting to leave him more money than he did. Sam is completely clueless about his bio dad though. Even my mum said she was almost certain Sam had to be Lee's child because there was only one other guy. My mum has had no contact with him for years. Dizzy Ad says, not the a-hole, but I do feel sorry for Sam. You weren't Lee's biological daughter either, so I guess Sam feels he's being punished, not for not being Lee's biological son, but for Lee not knowing that at first, which I presume Sam didn't either. That's gotta be tough. Finding out the guy you thought was your dad wasn't, and then finding out posthumously that he saw you as lesser than another child he raised who wasn't his biological child, just because of the deceit of your mum's part involved in his case. Honestly, you'll be not the a-hole whatever you decide to do with your money, but given that you and Sam share a biological mother, you might want to give Sam a little extra. Forget about your mum. Sounds like it was her deceit that caused this, and now her chickens have come home to roost. Afra says, and quotes, turns out Sam is not Lee's biological child, which he found out only recently. Then asks, info, who found out recently, Sam or Lee or both? Opie says Lee found out first, Sam found out after Lee's passing. Beneficial Yak says info, which statement is true? My mum married my stepdad Lee when I was 5, or my mum never legally married him. Opie says they had a wedding but nothing legally binding. And one final comment from Stray's mum, who says not the a-hole. Lee left his money to the people he wanted it to go to. Honoring his wishes is the right thing to do. The problem I see with splitting the gains from the investment with mum and Sam is that it'd never be enough. They will think that gives them a right to keep trying to bleed you for money. Your mum should be happy that she got anything at all, considering the fact that she had to have cheated on Lee to get pregnant with Sam. You were the daughter of his heart. So then OP updates the post and says thank you for your responses and advice. I talked to a lawyer. I told him I planned to continue living overseas and that I planned on going low contact with my mum and brother. She said I should set aside money for my mum and brother in the form of a trust fund. They will be paid X amount per month, the dividend from low risk investments, but can't touch anything else. I don't trust them both with a huge amount of money, so this way they will always have a steady income in their lives. I know this is against Lee's wishes, but I need to take care of them this last time. I already have a will set up that everything will go to charities. I make decent money at my job, so I set up a will a while back. My family knows this when everyone visited me that one time. Sam still has a year of school before university, so he should still be living with my mum in the meantime. My mum has a room in a high-rise that Lee gave to her a while back, so they should be fine with a place to live. I plan to support Sam's university expenses. He's not academically inclined, but in our culture, he will definitely be pushed to go to university. I'm still working with my lawyer to see how that can be without having to get too heavily involved. As to why Lee never found out before about Sam. My mum is mixed race while both of her children's fathers and Lee are the same race. Sam and I look like her, so it's hard to tell. Don't know why Lee decided to investigate after all this time. He was to blame for Sam being spoiled too, with how much he had been letting Sam spend over the years. My mum is 10 plus years younger than Lee. Maybe that's why she had the affair. She has a university degree so she can find a job if she wants. Her jewelry should be worth near 6 figures though, so there's always that. Lee's relatives took carrying out his intentions seriously. Ever since Sam became more problematic in his teens, the relatives tolerated him for their blood connections. Now that he is not, my mum and Sam are instantly in their bad books, I guess. Once this mess is more settled, I'm thinking of asking my workplace for a relocation. A change of scenery should be nice. I like my job, so I think I will continue working, but maybe my vacations can get a little more extravagant from now. Thank you. And many of the comments on this one are just saying, you're already being too generous, don't give them any money, get some more advice, etc., etc. While other people are saying, they can understand why you're doing this as a way of, that's it now, they've got what they want, I can just carry on with my life and not worrying about anything like that, no guilt, etc., etc. Not that OP should feel guilty about anything, but if it helps them move on with their life, then maybe it's a good thing. That's what they're saying anyway. But what do you guys make of this situation? What if you was in OP's position? How would you deal with it? Would you give them that money? Would you not? What about Sam's position? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. And our next story does have an update as well from Simple Part 187 that says, am I the a-hole for telling my daughter that I'm disappointed in her? Hello all. It's been rough with my only daughter as of late. My husband and I, both of us are 55, have one daughter, 30 female. We've been married coming up on 32 years soon. My daughter was in a long relationship and married for approximately 9 years. And for a long time, I thought that it was a good relationship. When out of nowhere around 3 years ago, she decided to divorce her ex-husband. We were told it was a mutual decision, but that ultimately he wasn't the greatest partner, and there were many things that she was not satisfied with in their relationship, so she wanted to leave. We supported her decision. About a year after the divorce, she introduced us to a new boyfriend, and while my husband and I thought it might be a bit early to date, we decided to continue to support her and meet him. He was and is a very charming man who treats our daughter wonderfully, and you can tell she's extremely happy. Now to the argument. Recently we were talking with one of our daughter's friends who was visiting our town. We were discussing our daughter's job and her wonderful boyfriend. A friend in the conversation made a comment about how they were lucky to be in the same orientation together when they started work. As soon as she saw our confused faces, she gave us the full story, as she realized we hadn't been given it. Our daughter had told us while her and her boyfriend worked for the same employer, they didn't meet until after the divorce. We pressed the friend for more information, and she begrudgingly told us that our daughter and her boyfriend had met during orientation at work while our daughter was going through her marital issues. This led them to becoming closer and her filing for divorce from her ex-husband about a year later. So later that day, I asked to have a conversation with my daughter and brought up what her friend had told us. She turned white as snow and basically confirmed her friend's story, but reiterated that there was no physical cheating. I told her that physical cheating was not the only way that you could hurt someone, that it appeared that she had emotionally cheated on her ex-husband. He may not have been the greatest person, but it didn't excuse her actions. I told her that I was disappointed in her, and while I supported her leaving a bad marriage, that I couldn't look at her and her boyfriend the same in this new light in regards to cheating. I still love her and will treat her boyfriend with respect, but it is definitely something I have a hard time looking past. She got angry with me for not continuing to support her in her journey beyond divorce. Am I the arsehole? And we're starting the comments with Amp Bro, who says, based on how judgmental you come across in this post, it's no wonder your daughter doesn't open up and talk to you about most things. It sounds like she never truly confided in you with her marital issues, and especially since you were shocked when she went to get a divorce. In quotes, out of nowhere around 3 years ago, she decided to divorce her ex-husband. It goes on to say, that being said, you have no idea how bad things were for her, or what she was really going through leading up to that, and if she had a co-worker that she could confide in and that supported her, that's great. She deserved to have someone there who she could. Marriages end long before the divorce is even requested most of the time, and if that friendship and support turned into something more after, then good for her. You are her mother. You can be disappointed and think you know better all you want, but pulling your support from her and talking down to a grown adult woman, you're the arsehole. She may be your child, but she isn't a child anymore. It's her life and she deserves to be happy. Toxic Redux says, wow, just wow, you're the arsehole. 1. You think dating someone new a year after a divorce is somehow too soon. What? 2. You admit that you know your daughter had marital issues before she knew this guy. Yet you've drawn the conclusion that he was somehow a part of her filing for divorce because she was emotionally cheating on her husband. Again, what? 3. You concede her husband was a bad partner while omitting any information on why and how he was a bad partner, but then said it didn't excuse her actions. What actions does she need to excuse OP? Talking to a new friend who happens to be male. You claim you support her choice to leave a bad marriage. Did it not occur to you, OP, that your daughter filed for divorce when she met a man who, as a friend, treated her with respect and care that she always wanted from her husband but had never have gotten? Did it occur to you that maybe meeting him showed her that she didn't have to settle for what she had been living with? She clearly lied to you about it because she knew this is how you'd react. Are you even disappointed with your daughter, OP? Are you sure the disappointment isn't with yourself? Oh, wise one says, not the a-hole. I'm so surprised by all of the votes. If she was unhappy and he was a bad husband, then she should have divorced him first, not get involved with someone else and then get the courage to leave. For anyone that has been betrayed, this is the fundamental break of trust that occurs, and then the cheaters justify their leaving because the spouse was bad, etc. I understand your disappointment, and while it does not sound judgy to me, it's fine to share your thoughts. Bottom line, she lied to you and hid the facts from you because she knew it was wrong. Intrepid Potential says marriages that fail are typically over long before the court declares it so. Your daughter's sounds as if it definitely fit that bill. Was she wrong to be emotionally invested somewhere else before the paperwork was done? Who knows? Maybe. But the bottom line is, it isn't her new beau you should be judging for that. It is your daughter. Not the a-hole for being disappointed in her, potentially bad timing, but not so clear on the judging the fella. Again, it is her, not him. That should be holding to a standard. No names left here says not the a-hole. You have every right to be disappointed in your daughter for lying to you. A lot of comments are hung up on the about a year after the divorce she introduced us to her new boyfriend and think she just started dating him then. That is when you met him, not when she started dating him. That she lied and said they met after divorce shows something was going on before the divorce. It may not have been physical, but something was happening. The funny thing is, if this was about your son doing this to his wife, Reddit would have been all over him. And a final comment from Blind Man who says that divorce wasn't out of nowhere. You've just never actually been emotionally supportive of your daughter throughout her life, so she never felt comfortable talking to you about her problems. Yeah, you're the arsehole. She's your daughter, and you're basically telling her you would have been happier with her if she stayed in a miserable relationship. We have no idea what may have been happening. So OP updates the post and says, my daughter has approved me giving an update, answering some common questions for all of you. 1. Yes, my daughter got married at 18. Her ex-husband was also 18 at the time. Me and her father did not think that getting married that young was a good idea, but supported her as she was an adult. 2. I did not have a good understanding of what the marital problems my daughter was experiencing, but she confirmed that there was no abuse from her ex-husband. 3. She has always been a very private person. That has never been an issue, as she has always been honest with us. On to the update. I received many messages and comments from all of you, and I do appreciate the advice and wisdom all of you gave. I think the thing I struggled with the most was being lied to. I felt hurt that my daughter didn't want to tell me the truth, but I realized that this discussion wasn't about me. So I asked my husband for advice, and he recommended my daughter and I sit down together and talk it out. My daughter agreed to talk to me with the condition that my husband mediate. My daughter started the conversation with that she didn't tell us about the true story about her boyfriend for 2 main reasons. 1, she was worried about being judged by me, and I confirmed her theory. Hearing this made my heart so sad, to see that my own daughter was worried about my judgment. 2, my daughter admitted that she was ashamed for how things went down with her divorce. She and her ex were going through some rough times, her work schedule being crazy and her husband being depressed contributed. She met her then boyfriend during this time and confided in him about this. Before she knew it, she was texting him every day and even going to his house to hang with him and her friends. She realized at the time she was wrong, so she filed for divorce and they started officially dating the day after her divorce was final. She again said she didn't physically cheat but admitted she was not proud of how her marriage ended. The conversation then went to my side. I reiterated that I supported her and her boyfriend. He's a kind and nice man and he treats her well, and that I loved her unconditionally. I apologized for how I acted and asked if she could forgive me. She accepted my apology and did tell me that while my words hurt, I'm still a good mother, and that my love that I've given her and her boyfriend has been consistent, and that my actions spoke to that. We agreed to go to some family therapy together in the future to continue to work out these feelings. We cried, hugged, and I think things will be okay. People can screw up, including myself as my last post shows, but ultimately, good people will always be welcome in my home. I never plan on changing that. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for spending your time with me today, getting involved in the story, showing your love, support and time, not just towards me, but towards one another down in the comments as well. I always find it absolutely amazing, so thank you so much for doing so. And don't forget, at the very end of the video, there'll be a couple of playlists at the very end there that you can click on, and it will automatically scroll through all the videos for you. Thank you so much for joining me today, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Much love.